Hi, and welcome to the Selling in the Motor Trade podcast in association with CarWow, the online car-changing destination. Together, we share tips and ideas on how to sell more cars, improve your service department, and generally put more profit into your department, dealership, or dealer group. I'm your host, Simon Bowkett, or some of you might already know me as Skippy. Firstly, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to listen to this podcast. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Selling in the Motor Trade. Today, I'm joined with Malcolm Beattie from MB Motors in Northern Ireland. Now, Malcolm is part of the IMDA, the Independent Motor Dealers Association, and we've been talking about some of these salespeople, and we've been training salespeople recently, but I'm fascinated about his business. I'm fascinated about the amount of awards that he's won when I look at his website. In fact, I wanted to interview him because I went to his website. He inquired about some training for his salespeople. I was blown away from an independent dealer how good the website was. I've since found out the awards he's won for it and how many other awards he's won. And I thought, I've just got to get Malcolm on the podcast. So, Malcolm, welcome along.
Hi, Simon. Thank you for having us. A very massive welcome that I'm not used to, so thank you very much.
So, Malcolm, let's go right back to the beginning then, okay? I know that you've been selling cars in Ballina, looking at your website from 2001.
Yeah.
What drew you to the motor trade to start with? Okay, did you always know it was an industry you wanted to be in?
No, it was that quite the opposite. It was four-legged things I wanted to be involved with rather than four wheels. I
Right.
came from a farming background. My father bought and sold cattle, and I always wanted to be a cattle auctioneer. And unfortunately, he passed away in 2001 as well. But he said to me, "Look, you're not going into farming. You need to think of something else." So some people listen to this podcast maybe not remember the yellow pages. But
Yes.
back in 2001, there was the thing called the yellow pages. And I literally opened it up one day, had got my exams from school, done okay, and thought, I'm going to sell cars. I love cars. My uncle was big into cars and thought, right, going to sell cars. Rang around the local garages in Ballymena to see who was looking for staff. And there was a local Peugeot garage who was looking for a trainee salesman. Went there, got the interview, and just spent 12 years of my life there, working up from trainee salesperson right through to sales manager. And that's kind of in that space of time where MB Motors sort of started, probably
Yeah.
2009. We started to sell a few cars in the sideline, as everybody does who's in the industry who wants to make a go of things. I started off selling Peugeot 206s, sapphire blue Peugeot 206s at £450 at the side of my house. And yeah, that's where it all started back about say 2009, and just have started to progress from there. Got to the stage where there was too many cars around my house. People were starting to complain about cars around my house, and right, what am I going to do? So had a friend who had a wee small sort of yard that held about 25 cars, and he was retired, and he says, look, sure, park them in my yard, and when you're working at Peugeot, I'll help clean them and sell them. And him and me struck up a really good friendship, and yeah, that's where the business then started to progress.
Yeah, I love that. I want to go back for a second because I grew up in North Queensland where the farming around there is mainly cane farmers. And I got to say, the cane farmers, in fact, farmers around the world, some of the best negotiators ever. I mean, dealing to a farmer, you knew you're in for a hard ride because they were going to screw you into the ground. Is there anything you learned from your father in the farming world that's as relevant in the motor trade?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like my I still love it. Like 24 years later, people are still talking about my dad whenever they come into the business. Say you're
Yeah.
just kept off the old block. He could sell snow to the Eskimos, and you're just the same. And he taught me everything I know. Even at such a young age, I was 16 at the time. Him and me were spent every day together out. He was selling. He worked for a meal firm, selling agricultural meal for farmers. And then while he was there, he'd been buying and selling cattle and taking them to market and making a few pound that way. So he then encouraged me, like, you go and buy that wee calf there, and sure, whatever profit you get, go and buy another one. And when you get that
Yeah.
profit, go and buy two. And that was whenever I was of no height. So I've always had a dealing background of some sort. I've always had dealing blood in me, you could say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, like dealing with the farmers, as great as they are, they love a bargain, they love a high,
Yes.
and it's just that bit I find difficult in business, because business over the years has got very strict on price.
Mm.
So, like social media, your advertising platforms, if you're not keenly priced,
Yeah,
people won't come to you. So you don't have that haggle room anymore.
yeah.
Somebody could come in and offer you £1,000 less than what you're asking for it, and you meet at £500 in the middle, and you still make profit.
It just
That's
doesn't work
not
that way,
right.
does it?
No, it's not, and it's hard getting that across to people.
Yeah,
But the way we sort of do it now is, well, can you find that car
yeah.
any value anywhere else? Well, no, we
Yep.
can't. Right, okay, well then, job's done. We don't need to haggle.
Mr.
But
Customer, you're phoning me from the other side of the country. You
yeah,
know it's the lowest price Toyota, blah, 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 in the country. Tell me what's
yeah,
wrong with it. Um,
exactly,
yeah,
exactly. And we do, like, even though we're in Northern Ireland, we do sell all over Northern Ireland. We even sell into the mainland as well. So we do not in great amounts, but we still do it.
yeah.
We used to sell a lot of cars into the south of Ireland, but unfortunately Brexit
Oh,
turned the tap off with that one.
well, with the VRT, it just doesn't stack up unless it's an EV vehicle.
Yeah.
Tend to still work down
Yeah.
there. Uh,
I'm not an EV fan, so I don't sell a lot of EVs. I still like my petrol and diesel, so I do.
Yeah, people listening to this podcast, you can't see on the wall behind Malcolm. There's some nice flash cars there, and it's a big 5 litre Mustang is one of them. You can see there, so it's the complete opposite to EVs.
100%.
And
100%.
listen, talking about the farming still, the only farming motor trade sort of comparison is Clarkson's farm at the moment,
Yeah.
and I'm watching that, and it's quite funny. We're up to the episode where he's trying to buy some cattle at an auction,
Yeah,
and of
just busted
course,
it right. Yeah.
listen, I know it's all for the show and all that sort of stuff there, but how Jeremy Clarkson's the worst negotiator in the world, and he just bid against himself there,
Yeah.
and it just reminded me of BCA auctions when you get
Yeah.
the private customer in there bidding against themselves in the poll and all that sort of stuff. There must
Yeah.
be lots of similar. Do you watch it with farming background, thinking, what the hell is he doing? Does a farmer like
100%.
that show or not?
100%. It's like, he went and bought a new bull,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
like the guy that he took there, I can't remember his name, his accountant or whatever you call him, and like he
Yeah.
had done the deal £500 less. Jeremy just walked the boy £500 more, and you're like, what are you doing? Like, from such a background of cars, like, he's so knowledgeable about cars, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
it comes to farming, he just doesn't have a notion, so he doesn't.
Oh,
And
all for the show as well, though. I'm,
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure there's
100%.
lots of that.
I suppose if you wanted to put me into some background that you had nothing about, and somebody was paying you a whole lot of money for doing it, you would give it a go for the view.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
But
So listen,
it's enjoyable watching. Dear knows what he's going to do with this pub now that he's buying too.
yes, yeah, it is. So listen, let's go back to your early days again. This really separates the true motor traders. Do you remember the first car you ever sold?
I do. It was a Peugeot 306 D Turbo in China blue.
See, I just love that when people know, and China blue, the
Yeah.
detail of it then, okay,
Yeah.
uh, is always very important. So
And
back
it was
when you
actually
were,
it was an import from the south of Ireland. At that stage, the import coming from the south of Ireland to the north was just finishing off. It used to be a big thing, but that was one of the last ones that came in. So it was fully loaded with spec. It was a lovely car. I wish I could have one of them today. It'd be great.
hey, isn't there so many times that you look at some of the cars that, well, I'm a lot older than you, but some of the cars that you sold, and there was a scrappage scheme on here going back '08, and
Yeah,
someone told me the worst car they seen scrapped was a Porsche, probably a 924 or something like that, which at the time it was not a lot, but they still scrapped it.
yeah.
And you think, no, what was happening at the time? I don't know what that car's worth now, but it's
But even in the Peugeot days, like, there's still Peugeot 406s out in the road.
yeah.
There's Peugeot 306 D turbos out in the road. There's 205 still out in the road. And like, there's some really nice cars that get scrapped at that time. It was just an absolute sin for them to be scrapped. But that was what it was, you
Okay.
know.
So you touched on this a little bit there. So building MB motors, okay? You've got 1 acre forecourt, you've got 100 to 150 cars you keep in stock, you've got a close-knit team there. What are some of the key milestones along the way? I know you were the sales manager there and you started doing things on the side. When did you actually bite the bullet and say, right, I'm not going to be a sales manager? Okay. Can you talk me through that thought process?
But whenever I left the dealership,
Yeah.
it was getting to the stage where it was probably recession had been,
Malcolm,
and
I asked that question. Sorry, I'm cutting you off there.
you're right.
There's lots of people who will be listening to this want to do what you've done. You
Hmm.
will get lots of people in the franchise world. They are head of business, they're a dealer principal, they're a sales manager working for someone else, and they think, oh, I want to have a go at it. So I just want you to talk through that scary moment where you're giving up a great salary as a sales manager in a dealership. You're earning good money. It must be scary just to say, right, I'm going to row my own boat.
Yeah, it was. I have a quite of a bumpy childhood. My father passed away when I was 16, as I said. I was living on my own when I was 16. My mother had put me out of the house for a different reason. I'll not go into it today, but I was living on my own at 16. Yes, earning a good wage where I was. I'd built up a good sort of, I didn't go out spending a lot of money. Yes, I enjoyed myself, don't get me wrong, but I was always one for saving money.
Mm,
And the you were always paying your mortgage and going, I bought a house at this stage, and can I afford to go out on my own? Can I take that step? It's nice having a steady income coming in, but could you actually go out and do it all for yourself? And one of the bosses in the business, he actually, you could say, helped me start up my own business. Him and I would have sold cars and stuff together. And it got to the stage where they knew I was doing this, and it was like, right, you've got a decision to make. You're either
With,
going to,
with their blessing,
there was a couple of people in the business, let's say one was
mm,
a son, one was a son-in-law. The son-in-law knew what I was doing, the son
okay.
potentially, but I think it was getting to the stage where the business was starting to go downhill, and
Mm,
it was like, right, we need to cut some wages, and obviously I was earning quite a big wage.
mm,
And I was like, right, you either concentrate on us or go out on your own. And I was
yeah.
like, that's fine. I'm gone. It wasn't a hard decision to
Mm,
make. But there's still people who's going to be working for business going, can I take the step? It's not easy, but I have absolutely no regrets. It's been a tough few years in getting the business to where it is today. But you can do it. You're used selling cars. If you're out there thinking, do I want to do this? You know how to sell.
mm,
You don't need a massive amount of money. I started off with £450 too. It's like, so okay, those cars have now progressed over
yep.
24 years to different
Yep.
values, but one, two cars, 20 grand,
Yeah.
20 grand can set you up with three, four cars. You make 1,000, 1,500 quid at it.
Mm.
You keep going, and it all adds up.
Keep,
So I find there's a lot of people, especially in the franchise world at the minute, who don't particularly like what they're doing. Everybody's getting
mm,
into these sort of what would you say? They're not, they don't have control of what they're doing. Everybody's telling them what to do, and targets are getting harder to get, and making money is harder to get. The used car sales side of things, I think, it's a lot more enjoyable. I'm not going to say it's easy, but it's a
mm,
lot more enjoyable being your own boss, doing
yeah.
your own thing, rather than people coming down at you every Monday morning, right? You have to do these reports, and you have to do this red tape, and blah blah blah. You can do your own thing whenever you're out on your own.
Did I read? I know you had 7 cars stolen
Yeah.
in a late night raid, and was that when you just moved into new premises, or was that when you were still setting up? Because that's got to hurt when you're 7 cars stolen at the beginning. When did that happen? And any lessons you can pass on to stop it happening in the future for
Yeah,
others?
so one downside I have, and my wife always tells me this here, that I'm too trusting.
Mm,
So whenever the gentleman I was talking about who helped me sort of set up MB Motors and clean it and sell the cars while I was working, his yard got too small for me, so I had to
mm,
get new premises. Getting premises with planning permission to sell cars isn't easy. So they don't want you in the town, they don't want you in the countryside. It's getting that in between things. So there was a Christian man who I got to know. Unfortunately, he's passed away now, but I had a chat with him, and he says, look, you can have that plot of land there, and that'll help you get set up, and got the plan permission and all sorted. So I moved out here in I think it was late January, early February, 8 years ago.
mhm,
And I was so excited about getting onto the site. I'd got it all fenced, I got it all stolen, got my porta cabin, had no electricity in at this stage, and was running off a generator, and just was loving life for the
mm,
first 4 days, let's say,
mm,
and even the build up of it. And out where I'm sitting here, I'd come out with 25 cars from a previous slot on this half acre of land that looked like this massive piece of land with all this wee small space of cars. And it was just a turning circle the whole week. People just kept coming in for nosiness to see what we had,
mhm,
whatever, don't know. Looking back now, there's probably a lot of people scouting the place out. A couple of people
mm,
running off a generator, and I never thought about it. I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. So obviously these people were doing their homework to see
mm.
electricity. I hadn't proper security around the
Yeah.
place, because I thought, well, what's going to happen?
Mm.
It's going to be okay. So the Saturday morning there was a track back to my farming roots where I'm actually positioned. There's a livestock market just up in the avenue from me, and they were
Right.
having a tractor run that Saturday morning. I'll never forget the phone call that I got to say, look, there's cars missing out your yard. The gates were burst open. There's something happening.
Mm.
Over 7 cars were taken, including a brand new Ford Transit Custom M or Connect M Sport I just bought myself, fully signed written. My porta cabin was completely trashed. Again, naive of me, I'd left the keys on site thinking, sure, it's going to be okay.
Mm.
So a massive, massive learning tool for me that you can't trust people. You have to be a lot more vigilant. So now I'm complete opposite as far as, well, as soon as that happened, I was a complete opposite as far as security is concerned. I've got trenches dug around the whole place. I've big bollards everywhere. I've got security cameras, as
Yeah.
much security as I possibly could get. So that was a massive, massive thing for me.
Mm.
I'm a Christian myself, and I remember being in church that Sunday morning, and a guy tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Malcolm, this will be okay. God will
Mm.
be all right with you in this." I was like, "What do you mean? I've just, I've come out with 25 car. All my nice stock was stolen. Mitsubishi Shogun Jeep, L200, my van, lovely 5 Series, and some of the stuff I'd actually sold
And
as
you're
well."
not in the city. You're out, as you said before. It's in between. So they had all the time in the world to
Yeah,
take what
yeah,
they
yeah.
wanted.
And the frustrating thing is there was something happening that night before in the market, and people actually said to me, "Oh, we seen lights in and out of the place that night, but we just
Mm.
thought of you getting set
Yeah.
up."
Yeah. Yeah. Of
And
course.
rightly so, you can't go around
Yeah.
and go, "Oh, why do you not ring me?" Because
Yeah. Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
he's just moved in, he's doing this, he's doing that, he's doing the other. But I actually got 5 of them back over the
Oh,
period of a few weeks. I got 5 of them back. They'd been positioned in different places around the country, including my van.
well,
Um,
I
so
thought they'd be on a boat out of the country in a
No,
heartbeat.
but my van was sitting at the docks in Belfast, and the Sunday Life local newspaper had done an article, and some guy rang me in the Sunday, sitting at Sunday lunch at a friend's house, and it says, "We've seen your van, right? Where is it? Sitting in the docks in Belfast." So me and my friend were straight up the road, rang the
Mm.
police, where's my van, and there it was sitting. So it was
Wow.
over a period of a few days, I got 5 of them back again, and actually 2 or 3 of them, as I say, were sold. And the customers were great. The customers came in the Saturday morning to lift them, seeing what was going to say, look, if you can get that back, we'll still buy it. They did. They honored their word. So my whole even social media platform at that stage just went daft because everybody was sharing the post and
Yeah.
liking it. So
Oh,
what
wow. I didn't see that. So that could have been a great business case.
that fella that said that to me in church that Sunday morning, I was like, what are you talking about? Now looking back, I'm going, oh,
Yeah.
the social media, like we're nearly up to, I think, 30,000 followers now, but the initial burst of that,
Yeah.
whenever the break-in happened, like don't get me wrong, it was heartache for me. It took a long time to get over because see, for the first couple of years after it, oh, you're the guy that got the car stolen. Oh, you're
Yeah.
the guy that got the car stolen. That got to the stage where I was like, I'm not being rude. I just don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody was
Because,
talking about it, and
yeah.
it was draining me so much. I was wanting to build my car business,
Yeah.
but I was known as the guy who got the
Had
car
the
stolen.
stop.
And even recently, somebody came in and said, "Oh, you're the guy that got the car stolen." I thought, 8 years later,
And,
there's
and now you're
not,
on the podcast and I bring it up.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
but you don't mind talking about it now. But
Yeah.
at that stage, it was so raw, and
Yeah. Yeah.
everybody was asking about it. Everybody wanted to know what was happening. Yes, there were genuine concerns and stuff, but it was just like,
All good gestured. Obviously, the
yeah, yeah,
people want. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
But for me, being the
Yeah.
one receiving everything all the time was like, I
Yep.
don't want to talk about it.
Yep. Yep.
And it was sometimes you got to the stage you just had to be a wee bit blunt, as politely as you could, and say, like, can we just discuss the deal? I don't really want to talk about it anymore, type thing. But listen, it was what it was. Massive learning curve for me. And for anybody who's listening, who's setting up your business, make sure you don't leave the keys on site and get as much security around you as you possibly can. Because even today, you still hear people getting cars stolen, all these high tech guys. So you just need to be so careful and vigilant with what you do around your business.
Yeah, you do. You definitely do. I want to talk about, well, actually, so many awards here. Okay, so the awards are going to come up again and again through this. But the first one I want to talk about is you were the finalist for the UK Independent Dealer in 2019 and 2020. You punch above your weight, as I said before. I want to talk about the differences, though, between the independent and a franchise dealership because you've done both sides of it. Okay. What's the biggest difference between running that independent? versus when you're running the sales manager in the franchise dealership, oh, and backed by a Peugeot or so forth.
Yeah, there's so what am I trying to say here? See, being an independent dealer, there's so many good independent guys out there now. So there is.
Mm,
We'd still get a bad reputation to a certain degree. There's still the odd one that doesn't do things right, but there's so many good independent dealers. Hence the fact I'm now a committee member in the IMDA, and we support nearly 2,000 independent dealers. The franchise world I always found was always about passing the buck. So, something went wrong, you just passed on to this one, you passed on to that one, or there was always different people dealing with the customer. I find in an independent dealer, you sort of own the customer better, you give the customer a far better experience. It's that person to person that you're meeting whenever they walk in the dealership, and you're their customer the whole way through. If they've got an issue, they're lifting you and they're lifting the phone to you, and you deal with it better. I just feel that the independent dealers give the customers such a better buying experience. And
mm.
that's one thing that I'm trying to aim to do. I want to be the best independent dealer that's in the country. And it's something I'm trying over
Would it
the years.
Would it be rude for me to say that you have to try harder as an independent? And again, I've been in the franchise world all my life there, so that might come across as almost rude or arrogant. But do you have to try harder? Because when you've got the brand of Audi above your door, people are going to come to you for a used Audi. If
Yeah.
someone's come to use Audi from you, is there the case that you have to try harder?
Oh, you do. You definitely do. We don't have a flashy showroom here. We don't have big, massive signs up with Audi or Peugeot or BMW or whatever.
Mm,
And you walk into the franchise dealerships and they're all in their suits and ties. And
mm,
in some cases, that can actually be intimidating for customers walking into those places. And, yes, okay, they get the red carpet treatment and they get teas and scones and all the rest of it. But does it really matter to a customer? Do they want, a bit of a chat, a bit of a getting to know each other, build a bit of a rapport, a cup of coffee, and then going through what they want? Like where we're at here, we're stocking up to like 25 manufacturers, so they can
mm,
come to MB
mm.
Motors and choose from all these different manufacturers rather than having to go to the one place. But it's took a lot of hard work to get it to that stage,
Mm.
and just the amount of red tape and stuff that there is in franchise world. And
Mm.
I think a lot of the franchise are now sort of going down or potentially going down the agency route too. So
Yes.
even less
Mm.
personal when it comes to buying a car. It's going to be click a button and go and lift it. And I still feel that people want to come and meet the
Mm.
person that they're buying the car from. And I've said this to even to my sales guys that we're doing the training with you. Like if you don't have that rapport with the customer, they're not going
Yeah.
to buy the car.
Yeah.
They want to buy the car from you for
Yes.
a reason. Like Carl, my top sales guy, he's so good with customers.
Because
He's
people buy him.
100%,
Yeah.
100%, and it's just he's such a nice way about him, and he
Yep.
treats the customer right. He gives them that red carpet treatment whenever they come in, without all the bells
Yeah.
and whistles, But he looks after them,
Yeah.
and hopefully the other two guys with your superb training, of course, will get to that stage too.
Thank you. Thank you. They will as well. Okay. And I suppose if you look at the amount of UK dealer groups that open used car operations, even in Ireland, so many of the dealer groups, they've got the used car operations as well. And every one of them, they say it's refreshing not to have to deal with the manufacturer red tape, as you said. And I kind of get it. The manufacturers, they have to almost, again, this might be wrong, but the lowest common denominator. I mean, with the agency, it's quite funny. The family-run businesses that punch above their weight and they do well kind of hate the idea of agency. But some of the dealer groups, they kind of like the idea of agency because it's a level playing field. I suppose the independent, you've got the ultimate. You run your own destiny. You can stock whatever you want. If you decide you're going to start stocking motorhomes, let's go and
Yeah.
do it. If you're going to start stocking vans, that's where the market is. So uh, I want to talk to you about stocking though. And again, I come from a franchise world, and that must be a challenge for you, right? How do you stock 100, cars? How do you keep them in stock? Are you going to PCA auctions, sticking your hand up? Are you using CarWow buying service? Are you going to motorways? What are you doing?
Most of my stuff will come from auction.
Mm,
Auction 10, 15 years ago, I think used to be a bad word. Oh, you're
mm,
buying a car from auction, there's something wrong with that car. You take the likes of BCAs in this world and other, central car auctions, city auction group,
mm,
they do such detailed reports when they're putting the car up for sale, you've got your mechanical report, you've got your condition report. You know exactly what that car is before you buy. Me being in Northern Ireland, I can't go and fly all over
Yeah.
the country to buy a car. I need to be here running the business. So I can sit here in front of the computer and I buy 95% of my stock from auctions. The likes of the car wise and motorways, yeah, they tried to get me on board, but on trying this politely, customers can't appraise their cars properly. You
Mm.
know, it's their own car, and oh, that car's never given me any bother, and oh, there's no marks on that car. And you hear, like, I'm in a couple of different WhatsApp groups with guys, and you hear all these horror stories about going to buy a car, and there's three wheels on it instead of four, or there's a bumper hanging off, and I don't have time for that.
But when you've driven that 3 hours to get there, it's
Yeah,
almost like it's the downtime. Even you say you can reject the car, clearly.
yeah.
It's like, hold on, you're not can't get your time back, I imagine, as well. Or your driver's time back.
Yeah, yeah. And like we do buy a lot, not a lot of cars, quite a few cars from the public. We have an advert runs on social
Mm.
media. We've on our website that we buy cars, but we always get the customer to come to us, because they say, oh, you can come and look at the car. I don't have that time. And it's
Yeah.
not big headed to say I don't have that time. I'm running a business. I can't afford to go an hour, spend half an hour talking to the customer, picking holes in their car that you don't really want that conversation to happen. So that's why I like buying from auction. Like on Friday, I bought 10 cars and I know exactly what they are. They're not even here yet. You
Hmm.
can put them online because right, well, I know what's coming, that they're going to be okay. And we source a lot of cars for people too, and that's buying cars without physically seeing it. And people come to me and say, well, you've got a good reputation for doing it. Yeah, because we do the thing right. There's no point
Yeah.
me swapping a car in for Simon who wants a 2023 series and it had a big score up the side of it and a rip in the seat and holes in the carpet. Simon's not going
Mm.
to take that car. So I
Yeah.
need to do the thing 110% right.
Yeah.
And that gets your reputation in.
Again, your website, and I urge everyone just to go and have a look at Malcolm's website, MB Motors. It's really a cracking website. And listening to your video there, it's something that stood out for me is like, we'll source your car. Okay, just click on, tell us what you want. We'll go and source that. Is that a Northern Irish thing more? You do that because people can go to the UK and go and get themselves, but they want you to do the legwork, I'm guessing. Is that right?
This came from years ago when I had my own business and people would have come in and seen an A4 sitting there in grey and went, "Oh, I'd love that car if it was black or white or blue or red." And you're going, well, they've got access to all these cars, so do you want a white one? No, and get, oh, what do you mean? Well, I can source you one. If you like that car,
Mm.
you've driven it, so you know what an A5 drives like, and you like the S-Line specs, you know what the S-Line spec is, but you just like that car in white. Yeah. Right, okay, well, sure. If I send you some photographs, you have enough.
Yep.
Yeah. And that was it. Because don't get me wrong, yes, people can go to England, but do
Mm.
they know what they're buying?
Yeah.
You go onto Auto Trader to look for cars, and there's all this flashy photographs and all the rest
Yep.
of it. Is that somebody who's got very good AI intelligence,
Yeah. Yeah.
commercial background? I've heard so many horror stories about people copying reviews onto their website so it looked like their reviews and people getting burnt and sending money over and it not being there. And it's just like, why would you take that risk? Will it cost you more money buying it from me? Not really. It's not, we don't charge for the service. It's a free service. I'll be trying to make the car as competitively priced as I can, but you don't have any of that hassle. You
Yep.
just tell me what you want and I'll go and source it from auction because I know what's going to come, what
Yeah.
mechanical work's been done on it, what stone chips are on it, what tread the tires are. Giving that customer that peace of mind. And then I branded it hashtag source it,
Yeah.
all years ago, and it's just something that stuck. And again, rather than guys coming in now going, "You're the guy that the car's stolen," it's you're the guy that can source cars. So it's worked to the benefit and get just repeat customers ringing you up and saying, "Used your service 2, 3 years ago. Can I get X, Y, and Z?" And you go, "Yeah, let's go and find it."
Yeah. So the other thing, again, I come from the franchise world. Okay. So it's maybe not understanding your world, but can you help me understand the supply of new cars slowed down a few years ago? There was the global shortage of semiconductors, then it was wiring looms. So we know that less new cars were sold in the vehicle park.
Yeah.
That's got to be the effect now. Okay. We've got less used cars because you're selling cars that were, where pandemic was, because I mean, 5 years ago now, 4 years.
Yeah. Yeah. 5 years ago. Yeah. Yeah.
You're right, it is 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My son was born just before the pandemic started on the 17th of March, and I was one of the last dads into the delivery ward, and then COVID hit. And so, yeah, he's just turned five there. So five years ago.
5 years ago. Wow. So that's got to have an effect. Are you having to pay more for the cars? Is it hard to find the cars there? Is it easy to sell the cars? Because we now go to limited display. It's kind of like the new car world after the pandemic was, we've got one for you. You want it. If not, there's four other people who want it. Okay.
And even the fact when like I used to sell a lot of Discovery Sports, like sort of 25, 30,000 pound type stuff. This was before I realized that I don't want to sell Land Rover product anymore, but that's another story.
Okay.
But we were ringing them 3, 4 years later saying, I'll give you back what you paid for the car 3 years ago. And they were going, what? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It
your prices have went up here, so like
was madness.
your car's worth the same as what you paid for it 3 years ago. And okay, yes, it worked in roundabouts. They had to pay to get into a newer vehicle, but when you told the customer you were buying their car back for what they
Yep.
paid for 3 years ago, it
Yep.
just didn't make sense. Now, thankfully, that has all I feel eased out. You were talking about supply and demand.
Mm.
A lot of the franchise dealers, like back whenever I was selling Peugeots, we only sold Peugeot
Yeah.
used vehicles. You went to a Ford dealership, they only had
Hmm.
Ford used vehicles. BMW had, you get the idea. Now all the franchise dealers are multi-used car dealers.
We've had to, haven't we?
Yeah,
Yeah. That's what's happened.
you've got that. So not only are the independents looking for these used cars, the franchise guys are now looking for the used cars as well. As you said, the new car supply got cut down over that 2, 3 year period. So a lot of people a lot of people like to moan and complain
Mm.
and oh, we can't get stock, we can't get stock. Thankfully, I've never complained about getting stock. I always seem to have had a steady flow of stock. Maybe it's the stock I keep.
Mm.
Like some people are very, very fussy about what they buy. It must be one owner. It
Mm.
must be under 30,000 miles. Back when I started, I was happy buying anything that,
Mhm.
you got to turn a profit at and was a good car. I do try and keep my stock under 10-year-old, under 100,000 miles,
Mhm.
no more than three owners. And I feel that that gives me the avenue to continuously buy cars. Sometimes your profit margins get squashed a wee bit. Like last year, 18 months ago, I had 150 cars here.
Mhm.
And it's because I've extended my business premises since I started here 8 years ago. I've extended it 3 times,
Mhm.
and had more space. Went, oh, I need to buy more cars. And I was being silly. I was buying cars just for the sake of buying them and not making good margin.
Mm.
And I caught myself on and went, there's more overage stock. There's cars that are not making good money. I need to change things. So I very much ramped things up about a year ago now, keeping less cars, but slightly nicer cars and making more profit per unit.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay. And holding out for that profit per
yeah, and
unit.
that's what takes me back to the haggling side of things. You
Mm.
have to hold out for the profit because
Yeah.
it is hard enough to get that stock, but there's no point giving it away.
Mm.
And if you already have it keenly priced on the website that you are the top five cars, you know, you need to be there. So you can't afford to put an extra 500 quid on it just to allow it on a trade-in price or whatever. So you do have to constantly look at your prices. You have to make sure you're there in the market and maximize your profit per unit.
Mm. So, do you run a 60-day policy, a 90-day policy? Do you measure your stock turn? In the franchise world, that's something that it would have been drummed into you from Peugeot. What's your view on your stocking policy? When do you decide to your first loss is your best loss? What do you do? Or is there a bum for every seat?
A mixture of both to a certain degree, but honest, Simon, I'm still an old-fashioned 90-day person. I know a lot of, especially franchise guys, are 30, 40 days, car has to go. We installed a new dealer management system back in October, November time called Dealer Kit. It has really changed the way I do business.
I'm not familiar with that DMS. So, dealer kit.
Dealer Kit, yeah.
Okay.
These guys were independent dealers
Mm.
and they thought, right, we need something for our dealership. They created this DMS that the guys, there's such a great bunch of guys from the guy who owns it to does the programming to the sales guys. I've actually got quite friendly with them over the years and I was the first in Northern Ireland to get the system in, and thankfully a lot of other guys have come on now, and they're
Mm.
just they're very ramping up the dealers they're getting on board throughout the UK. But it's such an easy system to use, and you can monitor everything. Me being,
Did you have, sorry, did you have a key loop or carriage or something like that beforehand or not?
uh, I don't want to drop another name into it, but yes,
No,
I did have
no.
a DMS. I don't
You
want
had
to.
a different provider. Yeah.
I did a different
Yeah.
provider who were super.
Okay.
Couldn't say a bad word about them. They were great over the years, but just seemed to lack moving forward,
Mm.
if that
Okay.
makes sense. This dealer kit system is just it's modernized, it's revolutioned what I do. Like for us here, I'm now up to 15 staff. You've got
Hmm.
technicians, you have 100 cars, you're trying to get cars out. You go on the dealer kit dashboard and you can see what jobs are outstanding, what cars need dents taken out of them. The dent guy comes up on a Tuesday and Friday, you print them off a list. There you go, there's your dents. The
Yep.
alloy wheel refurb guy comes in.
You're
There
not
you
walking around with the dense guy,
go.
or he comes in with his list of stuff that he's telling
Yeah.
you what it needs. Yeah.
Exactly. You charge it against the car and it gets you a better idea of what your profit per unit is with the car too. The
Yeah.
last one didn't really do that.
Mm.
So you're able to see now each, like even my stock turn, I would have sort of worked out about 60, 65 days.
Hmm.
I'm now in around 35 to 40 day stock turn.
Yeah.
And I think that's because I'm looking at the figures a whole lot more. You're constantly going on the dashboard to see what stock you have, what's over age, what needs work done to it, and your finance penetration, your warranty penetration. It's all there. You can go onto your phone with it, and it's
Mm.
just it really is a superb system. I probably should be on commission for them here because
I think.
I'm filming up, but literally, Data Kit is a superb play, and it's only getting better. This is the thing. The last DMS sort of stopped
Mm.
making things better. Like
Yeah.
I've only been with these guys 6 months, and they're constantly bringing out new tools and going, right, what about this? What about that? Like I'm trialing a thing at the minute where the cost of the parts invoices rather than the service manager having to sit and put them on, she literally sends the email that goes on to the cost of the vehicle. It's making life so much easier and so much more efficient because I'm massively into efficiency,
Yeah.
and this has really helped do that.
Yeah. Okay. Is it really just for the independents, this DMS, or are franchise dealers using it as well? Do you know of?
I think it's just for independence, but
Yeah.
it's something that franchises could potentially use too. I don't see why they wouldn't or couldn't use it. They may well be in franchise dealerships.
Mm.
Say my hat's always independence. I'm always thinking of the independents, not really paying attention to what the franchise guys are doing. But it's a superb
Mm.
piece of software, says, and it's not overly expensive either. To be fair, I think the
Mm.
price of it's very realistic
Yeah.
too.
Look, I was a bit naive there. I just assume as the independent, you're just selling used cars. I've just imagined the used car department, but you just said something there with the technicians you got, 15 staff. I
Yeah.
didn't think about that side of the business. With your service side of the business, is that mainly prep for your used cars, or are you actually servicing your customer base as well? Are you a
A bit of both. The level of stock that we have and the stock turn that we have, we do most of our prep. Well, all of our prep's done in-house, so most of our technicians are literally prepping cars, making sure they're ready for the road. We do then offer that service to our customers. Like if you come back next year and you want your car serviced, we can do it. But our stock turn has got so good that it's sort
Mhm.
of hindered putting the
Yeah,
sort of the retail customers because you're constantly trying to get cars prepared. I'm buying stock in, the guys are selling it, right? Need to get it into the workshop, and
yep,
that's where that comes through. But yeah, I'm over this last 2 or 3 years, I've tried to bring as much stuff in-house as I can because obviously you're outsourcing mechanical work, you're paying more for it. You're outsourcing tires, you're paying more for it. And even just the logistics of it, like you used to send a guy in to get tires and you would go, right, that guy's taking the car in, he has to sit and wait and the tire's been fitted, then he has to come back out. So that guy's losing that time. Now the fact that we get the tires delivered to us here and the mechanics as they're servicing the car fit the tires to the car, that person's not having to go and wait in the town to
yeah.
get tires fitted. We're looking at alloy wheel refurbishment machines at the minute.
Hmm.
We've been chatting to guys last week about bringing that in-house as well because we have a high standard of how we present our cars that a customer can come and say, well, what about that mark on the wheel and what about that? There's none of that here. It's literally that car is sitting to the best we can make it. So if I can save money by refurbing the wheels in-house too, then it makes it more
I could
efficient.
tell you, I just love this. As sales managers, listen to this. I know it's in the franchise world. I know it's not down to you. Okay, they'll tell you what you've got to do, but prep a car before you sell it. I
Yeah.
just this old-fashioned, yeah, we'll get that wheel fixed for you. We'll get that dent out. Because I mean, just get the car right first. And I get some people saying, yeah, but if I go to sell it to auction because it hits my 60 day or 90 days, I'm not going to prep it until it sells. I just
But
don't
is that why it
get that.
hasn't sold?
Yeah,
If
exactly.
3 or 4 customers come to look at that car and it's got four scoped wheels, that's why it's sitting there 60 days later because you haven't sold it,
I
So,
mean, goodness me, it's 2025, but there's still that mentality sometimes out there that I just don't get. I just
yeah.
don't get.
I
Retail, is
feel
it?
if you present your cars correct, if you've got a good reputation you
Yeah.
present your cars correctly. Like even the sales guys who are doing the training with you, it's like it's just those wee bits and pieces they can pick up from training because the car is kind of sold itself online.
Yes, it
You know,
has
the cars
nowadays.
present it, it's priced right, they can see all about it, they can see all about you. You just need to make sure you capture that customer and give them the treatment that they
Yep.
need to buy that car.
So
You
true.
know, like,
Retail is in the detail, was drummed
oh,
into me.
100%. Yeah.
Listen, I'm 51 now. I started when I was 17. I think it's as true today as it was when I started. Retail's in the detail. It is, that's how it works.
But don't
Um,
get me wrong, we sell cars that maybe have just landed that's not fully prepped, but we've got the reputation to say, well, look, we'll leave that right. Yeah, yeah, that's fine. But 95% of my stock, there's no dents in it, there's no marks in the paint, the wheels are all set and refurbished, it's set and ready to go.
yeah, yeah. I just even that one, I always love to not show a customer a car beforehand. If possible, I get it. Sometimes you want to get the car sold straight away there, but get the car prepped straight away.
But if it's
Um,
prepped, it's so much easier to sell.
Cheeky question. Then. What's your prep time then? So a car lands, you've got 10 cars you bought on Friday. How long before they're photographed on the website, ready for sale? We always like to reduce that as much as we can.
Yep.
What can you get that to with your own stuff?
So at the minute, it used to be if I bought a vehicle, let's say there was 10 cars I bought on Friday, I'd had all them with coming soon on them
Hmm.
on the website. And then because the stock term is so much, I was just with a load of coming soons. I was like,
Yeah,
that doesn't look good. So
yeah,
I do something called a waiting prep. So whenever the cars land here, some stage this week, the ballots are lined up, ready to go, wash over the car. We have a photo booth you may have seen on the
yep.
website, straight into the photo booth, and literally 3 or 4 photographs of the car. They're not brilliant photographs, but it's just to let the customer see what the car is.
So it's not just a
Um,
waiting, a car
yeah,
coming. Yeah,
yeah. So that
yeah.
they've got to see the actual car there. Once that's done, the car then gets prepped, whatever it needs to do, full valid, then properly photographed and video and what. And I've had a new guy started this year who's in charge of taking the photographs properly, doing the social medias, that sort of thing. He's been super. And it's just because again, attention to detail, you want the photographs to be good. With the customers flicking through all these different cars, your car has to stand out from the rest, so it does. So as far to answer your question, I would say once the car lands here, we have it fully photographed and prepped within 14 days.
Okay. Okay. It's one of the things as an industry, we keep on trying to push that further and further, as short as you possibly can.
Yeah.
I suppose it's the Ryanair philosophy. The plane's not making money if it's not in the air. In our world, unless we can have it on the forecourt ready for sale, we
Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here saying I'm a perfect leadership in any shape or form. Like we have over 20 cars sold there, sitting waiting to go out, and it's itching away at me. Like
mm,
that's 20 cars that I can't go out and replace.
yeah.
Need the money in. What's holding up? Well, that's waiting on that part, and we're waiting on that, and that customer doesn't want to pick that up the next Friday, and that is just part of the business that you try and have to work around.
That just leaves me to say that all details of this episode and other episodes on the selling in the motor trade can be found on our website, simcotraining.co.uk. Go there to get a copy of our book, Words That Sell Cars. Go there to sign up to a free trial of our Sales Fitness online sales training program. Easiest way to get hold of me is Simon Bowkett through LinkedIn. Thank you.